Hi, Mackenzie.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
Doing great. Just got my coffee here.
That's really all we need to just
Yeah,
start the day.
exactly.
Are you like one of those people that if you don't have coffee, you'll get a headache?
Yes. And unfortunately, I think it's really I love the taste of coffee,
Yeah,
but I think I drink it more to avoid the headache part.
yes, totally. I'm definitely addicted,
Yeah.
so I feel you.
Yeah,
I feel
totally.
you on that.
Yep.
Well, I am so excited to chat with you today and just learn more about cut and flow. But first, can you tell us a little bit about you and then kind of like why you wanted to start Cut and Flow Studio?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi again, I'm Mackenzie. I'm the owner and founder of Cut and Flow Studio in Bothell. And I had left my career in advertising when I started to teach full-time fitness. And just for a little bit more background on more of like my fitness journey, I was a volleyball player
Right.
for many years and kind of teared off when I went to school and decided that I wanted to stay active, but I needed
Mhm.
some way to move my body in a way that was very low impact,
Yeah.
right? Safe, and that
Yeah.
felt good on my joints after playing a sport that's pretty intense, right? Lots of jumping,
Yeah.
lots of rotation in the shoulder,
Yeah.
and things like that. So I really fell in love with yoga. So in 2015, I got my 200-hour yoga certification.
Amazing.
Very shortly after, I had found slow resistance training. And so that kind of helped me balance out those two workouts, right? Both are safe controlled,
Hmm.
but one is more focused on, body weight movements and mobility. And then
Yeah.
the other uses a piece of equipment that's based off of a classic Pilates reformer that's been enhanced
Yeah.
to add more of that strength component. And so once I started taking those classes, I had to teach those as well because I became so passionate about it.
Yeah.
So for a couple of years, I was teaching around the Seattle area at a few studios. And I always had this thought in the back of my mind as to, what would a studio look like that offered both?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, had the two separate studio spaces because they kind of require different space and different kinds of equipment. But I was just thinking, like, these are my two favorite ways to move my body, and they're so complementary of each other.
Yeah.
And so I basically set out on the journey to, write up a plan and find a space. And those two things seem to happen really quickly. And so we opened Cut and Flow in 2020,
That is
and
amazing.
we opened our first location in the Bothell area.
That is so cool. Can you tell me or expand a little bit on what the two classes are that you offer? And I think you even offer like kind of different classes within the classes.
Mhm.
So just expand on that a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. So Cut and Flow is a dual modality studio. So you come into our lobby, and then on the left and on the right are two completely separate studio spaces. So on the left-hand side, we have our X-Former studio, and the X-Former is what we call that piece of equipment that is a version of a Pilates reformer that has been enhanced, basically.
Mhm.
So that workout is called slow resistance training, and that just kind of describes it in a nutshell, right? All of our movements are slow and controlled. The resistance is coming from springs, and the springs are stretched, or the tension is derived by carriage-driven tension.
Cool.
And then the method is slow and controlled strength training. So our goal is muscle failure in all the different muscle groups that we work. Most of our classes are full body, so we're talking core, lower body, legs, obliques, and upper body, which includes back and chest as well. So that's our X-Former side. And then our other side is our yoga studio. And our yoga studio is heated with infrared heat. It's not necessarily a super hot studio. Our classes get up to about 85 degrees.
Yeah.
And then our slower classes like yin and slow flow are more around 70, 75 degrees. In our yoga studio, we offer classes, so many different options. We offer the very traditional forms of yoga, including hatha and vinyasa and yin. We also offer some classes called slow flow, which are more kind of broken down vinyasa classes, slower movements, slower transitions. And then we also offer two proprietary classes at Cut and Flow. The first one is called Core and Flow.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that we add just a little bit more core stabilization in
Cool.
between our vinyasa style movements. And our second one is called Flow and Roll. And that is definitely a favorite at Cut and Flow. It's a 75-minute class.
Wow.
And the first half is movement-based, so vinyasa. And then we also add in about 3/4 of the class is actually rolling with myofascial release balls. And that one's called Flow and Roll. And people just love that class.
That's so cool. It sounds like you have really created like an experience for people with like the different classes that they can choose from. And when they're deciding to sign up with Cut and Flow, it's not just like this is your one thing. There's so many different classes that you have created for people, which is awesome. Yeah. Going off the experience thing, I know that this is like part of your vision because of your advertising background, but what like experience do you create for your guests when they come into, or your clients when they come into Cut and Flow? What do you want it to feel like for them?
Yes, absolutely. The experience is so important. And first, I'll start with just the physical environment of Cut and Flow. It is very bright. It's very open. We have tons of windows. Our studio is east facing, so we get this amazing like morning sun, and it just like fills the studio with this just like bright and airy feel.
So cool.
I mentioned in the beginning, we have a big lobby that you walk into. So you kind of walk in, you see a front desk, you check in, and we also have a really built out shop. So anything that you can think of, from like athleisure wear to, hair clips and grip socks and just the fun stuff. And then you continue to move through our lobby, and then we actually move into a seating area that would resemble like a living room. We have a couch, we have 2 chairs, and we have a coffee table. And it's really a space where people sit and gather before classes and after classes. And one of my favorite things is when, 2 people are sitting next to each other in the lobby and they might not know each other at all, and start a conversation about the class, or, how much they love the instructor, or ask, how they found Cut and Flow. Yesterday, I saw 2 clients that did not know each other. One client was wearing a Cal Poly shirt or sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And the other client said, I went there. Did you go there? And the other client's daughter was currently going there. And they got to talk about something that they had in common, that, they just ran into each other at Cut and Flow, which I just like, that makes my heart like absolutely melt. But another example of the experience at Cut and Flow is, if someone comes in on our introductory offer, you come in and you get from the beginning your own Cut and Flow tote bag, and it has just like some fun swag in there that helps you feel more connected to us into the studio, and that includes a free pair of grip socks.
Cool.
So that you're prepared for class. Yeah. And just like fun swag that's like fun to have, whether it's like a water bottle or a keychain. And then you get your own tour of the studio. You're introduced to your instructor when it is your first class. And kind of like secondarily, the amenities that we have to offer, I think, set us apart as well. We have lockers, we have bathrooms that include showers, and for our yoga in particular, we offer all the different props. So we have blocks, straps, bolsters, and we have yoga mats for people to come in and grab if you forget one, or you don't have one, or haven't invested in one yet. We have all those things for people to borrow.
That is amazing. You have really, it sounds like you've cultivated a great space. I also know one of your instructors, she leads a run group in the Seattle area. And she was saying that when she leads the classes, she really because she creates the movements or the set for the day, programming for the day. And she really tries to address and see how everyone's doing. And then from there, it'd be like, okay, this person's really struggling. I'm going to give them a couple of modifications. This person's killing it. I'm going to give them some ways to make it harder, which I thought that was amazing.
Yes. And our class sizes are more intimate. So in our X-Former studio, we have 10 X-Formers, so we can have 10 people in that class. Then our yoga studio is also quite small compared to other, large studio spaces. We cap our yoga studio at 20 people. And because of that intimate environment, we're able to give that more one-on-one, whether it's like you said, reading people's energy, what do they need? Do they need more modifications today? Or do they need more of a challenge? And the same goes for things like helping people with form and recovering from specific injuries and things like that. So I would say that definitely lends itself to having a more intimate class size.
That is so cool. Yeah. And then for anyone, this will lead into my next question, but for anyone that doesn't know, I work specifically with women runners or just women with hip pain. I'm curious, what benefits do you feel like both the yoga and then the X Former classes would have for women runners or women that are experiencing hip pain?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question, and I've actually led workshops that include X Former workouts and yoga poses specifically for runners.
Amazing.
And yes, oh my gosh. And I would say that there's four big things that I think are really important in terms of how we cross train for our running performance, or how we exercise to help with pain and mobility issues. So the first thing I will say is just that mobility, right? So in both yoga and X Former classes, everything is very slow and controlled. And with mobility as a focus, we can get into areas of our body in a very safe and controlled way.
Yeah.
Whether that be a particular pose or a stretch in yoga. Again, using props to safely get into a stretch or a pose. Also using the infrared heat to help us feel kind of that opening in our body to maybe sink into a little bit of a deeper stretch.
Yeah.
The second way is with lateral movements.
Yeah.
I know you're the expert on this. But in yoga, we do a lot of lateral movement, right? Cool. So we're not just moving forward and back on our mats. We're also incorporating more side-to-side movement as well, and really working that lateral plane. And in our X Former workouts, those lateral movements are so important, and we focus so much on both like adductor, right, coming in type exercises, but also abductor, moving out type exercises. So we also know that we really need to both work the inside and the outside, because when we run, we're really just moving in this forward direction. And I mean, even if you're not a runner, we still kind of walk forward.
We live our life here. Yeah, I mean, we do move a little bit more, but mostly.
Absolutely. So then the second would be the lateral movements. The third one is muscular endurance.
Yeah.
And we approach those two things in different ways in yoga and X Former. In yoga, we use our own body as resistance, right? Body weight. But we are in poses that we sometimes hold.
Yeah.
Right? We might be holding a plank.
Yeah.
Might be holding a balancing pose, like a tree pose. And then in X Former, that muscular endurance is a key component of our workout.
Yeah.
And then the fourth way that we can help runners and people with just mobility or other sensations of pain is with core stabilization. And I've kind of saved this one for last because I actually think it's probably the most important. And thinking about core stabilization in a way that is safe and controlled and effective, that isn't putting undue pressure on our body. So thinking about like, how do we stabilize our core, whether it's like a plank type position, or how are we stabilizing our core when we think about like trunk rotation as well. And I know that when I've been training for running performance in the past, right, eliminating those big swings of your torso, right, and keeping your upper body very braced when you're taking a long run or even a fast run is really important.
So huge. Yeah, and I think you also touched on something earlier with your own story. Was after volleyball, you're like, I just want something that's a little bit lower intensity, where runners are constantly in that higher intensity, because running is a relative stressor to the body. So we know as runners that we need to strength train, but oftentimes it's hard to know what to do, and it's boring doing it on our own. So like being able to join a studio like Cut and Flow, where you have both the X Former, where you're getting that like strength stability at a lower impact, would be amazing. And then also to have the addition of, okay, I just had a huge week and I don't really want to do strength training, like doing a lighter class like the yoga classes, or even the one that you said, the flow roll, I think. Like that would just be such a great way to complement the like stresses of running without having to do it on your own.
Yes, absolutely. And I have to say, like you brought up a really important thing to me, and that was it's boring and you're kind of doing it alone, right? If you're just doing it at home. And I'm so passionate about group fitness.
Yeah.
And I truly think that we need community and we need people around us.
Yeah.
And the quality of our relationships, right? We're seeing all these studies come out, how important that is to our overall happiness and longevity. You know, things that go beyond just like our physical fitness, right? It's really our emotional and, you know, and our relationships that also contribute greatly to our health and happiness. So I am super passionate about group fitness.
Yeah, and especially living in the Seattle area when it gets like dark and dreary. I mean, the run groups are amazing and they will
Yes.
meet rain or shine, day or night, like whatever it looks like outside. But to have a community that you could go to when it's 4 p.m. and dark out and still get like that movement and just like, you know, with people that you know and don't know would be an amazing
Yes,
addition.
absolutely.
I think this kind of ties into what you were just talking about, but what wins are your clients seeing at Cut and Flow? Is it like the relational or like fitness? What are things that people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that this was going to happen?
Yes. So, gosh, it's hard to even just like pick a few things that, you know, I hear people talking about in terms of what successes Cut and Flow has brought them. But I definitely have a few favorites. I will say, obviously, people are getting stronger and they're becoming more connected with their bodies and their abilities. And our mission at Cut and Flow is to help people grow, establish and grow their self-worth and self-confidence through group fitness. And that's the part that excites me the most, is when they start to see their success and how much that adds to their confidence and their self-esteem, and how much that goes beyond just what they feel in the studio, but how it affects their relationships and their career and just their overall health. I think is really important to me. In terms of like actual, you know, like whether it's like a PR or like fun things like that, I have a client who just this last kind of late fall, I believe, was the race he ran, and he PR'd his half marathon time. Amazing. And the only thing he was doing different was adding in workouts at Cut and Flow, both strength training and yoga. And he just the accomplishment he felt was like so cool. Yeah. And then another favorite of mine is a client who is a breast cancer survivor. And after having surgery, was having a lot of difficulty bringing her arms even just above her head, right? So we're talking mobility and strength. And in the, you know, in an X-Former class, she had overhead pressed even just a small amount of weight. And for her, that was
amazing.
Huge.
That's everything. I mean, that's putting your shirt on, you know, like comfortably. That just translates to so much. Yeah, those are my two favorite for sure. That is so awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that. Is there anything else that you would like to touch on from Cut and Flow, or just anything else you'd like to share based on our conversation? You know, I think the biggest thing I'd love to share is just that anyone can do these X-Former workouts that I've been talking about, and everyone can do yoga. And while we have beginner classes for both modalities, every class is all levels. And I really want to drive home the fact that everything is modifiable. So as you were saying before, all of our instructors will be offering ways to modify to a lower intensity or to modify and give you suggestions for a higher intensity. So every time someone comes in and says, you know, what class should I take for the first time? We really love to pride ourselves on saying really any class, right? And there will be ways to modify, and will meet you where you are at. So that is something that's really big and important to us. And then the second thing is we as a studio and as a community are growing. And so if, you know, anyone wants to be a part of that, whether you are like someone like yourself who's like super passionate about this, I would just love to talk. And I am an open door, and I love making connections with people just like you. So thanks for making the time for this today. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's so fun to just support, like, quite literally the people that are local to you and get to know those businesses. I've just found so much heart behind like running stores and studios and places that are just like locally owned. They just really know the community, which is awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I think my last question for you is, where can we get more from you? Like, is Instagram good? Website? If we wanted to come in for our introductory class, what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, yeah, Instagram is a great place. We are always posting things about our studio, our instructors, our classes. We kind of approach social media as like it's either got to be inspiring or educational, or it just has to kind of make you laugh, right?
Yeah.
And then I would say, like, you can always go to our website, cutandflowstudio.com,
Mm-hmm.
and you will find everything from our class schedule to our pricing, anything information about our class descriptions, and things like that. You can all find at our website.
Perfect. Awesome. And then if we schedule an introductory class, what does that look
Yeah.
like?
Yeah. So we offer, actually, our intro currently is actually a month of classes.
Oh, cool.
And we've really found that it does kind of take a month for you to kind of, decide, what's my right cadence, right? Am I training for something? Am I training for a race? And if so, do I need to cross train with strength training twice a week and get yoga in twice a week for recovery? Or what does that look like? So we like to give people a full month, 30 days of classes, and it's $99. Like I said before, that includes your free pair of grip socks. So really everything in terms of equipment you'll need to take both of the classes. And that's really our most popular way for people to come in and try it out.
That's amazing. That's like an amazing value. And like you said, just a great way to figure out like what works for you.
Yes, and that is completely unlimited. You can take 2 classes in a day, classes in the evenings, classes in the mornings. It's all access to cut and flow with that introductory.
So cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. I definitely learned a lot about your studio, and I'm excited to come up and try it.
Yes, I can't wait to have you in class. So excited, and thanks for making the time and doing this. It's great.
Yes, of course. Okay, hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.